Guys, you won't believe what I witnessed inside my car yesterday. A woman got into my Uber all dressed up, smelling amazing on her way to a party, and got out crying, plotting the biggest revenge I've ever seen in my life. And the worst part, she made me her accomplice. This story will get to you just as much as it got to me. Get ready, because what you're about to hear proves that reality is wilder than any soap opera. Look, I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me last week, and I still can't get it out of my head. I've been a rideshare driver for about 5 years, and I've seen everything in this car. Drunk people, couple fights, tears, laughter, confessions, but nothing compares to what went down on that Thursday night. It was around 8:30 when the ride request came in. Pickup location, a fancy building in Boston, one of those with a marble lobby and everything. Destination, the Seaport District. A good fare, right? I immediately thought, nice, this is good one. When I got to the building, I saw a woman walking out the glass door. Man, she was one of those people you look at and think, this one's got money. She must have been in her 40s, well kept, with blow-dried blonde hair, a navy blue dress that looked super expensive, high heels, a designer handbag, all decked out. But you know what really caught my attention? Her perfume. When she got in the car, that good scent hit you, the kind you know is expensive, you know? Good evening, she said, settling into the back seat. Her voice was polite, but I sensed a nervousness there. She checked her phone 3 times in the first 2 minutes of the ride alone. Good evening, ma'am. To the Seaport District, right? Yes, you can go through downtown, I'm not in a hurry. I thought that was strange right away. Who takes an Uber to a party and says they're not in a hurry? Usually people want to get there fast. But hey, it's not my business, right? I put on some quiet music, a little jazz that always works with this kind of passenger, and kept driving. The city was beautiful that night. Traffic was flowing well. The sky was a bit cloudy, but no rain. Everything was normal. Until when we were passing by the harbor, her phone rang. And that, my friends, is when everything changed. She looked at the screen and I saw in the rearview mirror that her face tensed up. Really tensed up. Hello, Chelsea, she answered. And by the way she said the name, you could tell it was someone important. Her voice got a little higher, a little strained, you know? On the other end of the line, I could hear a woman's voice speaking a little loudly, a little nervously. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was that of someone confessing something serious. Calm down, Chelsea, calm down. What is it? The passenger said, and I noticed she was gripping the phone tighter. Then there were a few seconds of silence on her end, just listening to the other woman talk. And it was in that moment that I saw in the rearview mirror my passenger's face transform, literally transform. It started as confusion, shifted to surprise, and ended in an expression I'll never forget. A mixture of pain and rage that gave me chills. How do you mean, you two? She whispered into the phone, and I swear I could feel the desperation in her voice. The woman on the other end kept talking, and now you could hear nervous sobbing, that heavy crying of someone who was desperate. Chelsea, stop for a second. Are you telling me that you and Robert? The passenger's voice was trembling now. Robert. I locked onto the name right then, and then came the heaviest silence I've ever felt in my car. The passenger just listened, and I watched in the rearview mirror as she got paler and tenser. Suddenly she spoke, in a voice that seemed to come from another world. For 2 years. 2 years, Chelsea. You know when you witness something that you know is going to stick with you for life? This was exactly that. I was driving, but my attention was 100% on the drama unfolding in my back seat. The Chelsea woman continued to talk on the other end, and now you could hear sobs, that heavy, desperate crying of someone who was distraught. No, Chelsea, no, you're not going to blame it on alcohol. 2 years isn't a mistake, it's a choice. The passenger was losing her composure. Her voice was getting louder, more agitated. That's when she looked at me in the rearview mirror. Our eyes met for a second, and I saw such a deep pain there that I wanted to stop the car and give her a hug. But she made a hand gesture like, keep driving, and I obeyed. So you're calling me because, she continued on the phone, because you can't handle the guilt anymore? Because you want to confess? Or because you found out you're not the only one? That last line came out with a coldness that gave me chills all over. This woman was processing the information in real time and was already coming to conclusions. She was smart, very smart. On the other end of the line, Chelsea started talking louder, more desperately. Now I could make out some words. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It just happened. Chelsea, tell me one thing. The passenger interrupted with a chilling calm. Where do you two meet up? Silence. Where, Chelsea? At your cabin by the lake. I could hear the tearful response from the other end. The lake cabin. So she had a cabin with her husband and her best friend, knew where the key was, had access, felt comfortable taking her friend's husband there. Man, the humiliation was complete. The passenger hung up the phone, and that's when she started to cry. Not that hysterical crying you see in movies. It was a silent cry, the kind that breaks your heart. Tears running down her makeup, smudging her mascara a little, but she was trying to maintain her composure. I didn't know what to do. Stop the car? Keep driving? Say something? Pretend I didn't hear anything? Then she spoke, more to herself than to me. 2 years. How could I have been so stupid? And you know what's the craziest part of this whole story? In that moment, I knew this wasn't going to end there. There was something about her, the intelligence I saw in her eyes that told me this woman wasn't just going to cry and accept it. No, she was plotting something, and I was right. She wiped her tears with a tissue from her purse, took a few deep breaths, and said, "Can you pull over at a gas station? I need to buy a few things." "Sure, ma'am." And that's how the biggest revenge I've ever witnessed began. I pulled into a Shell station nearby. The passenger got out of the car, and I sat there, processing everything I had just heard. Man, I felt terrible for her. Imagine finding out your husband is cheating on you with your best friend of 2 years, and finding out over the phone, no less. The humiliation must have been unbearable. She came back about 10 minutes later with a bag. She had bought water, a chocolate bar, tissues, and, get this, a portable phone charger. Weird, right? Who's on their way to a party and stops in the middle of the trip to buy a portable charger? "We can keep going," she said, getting back in the car. But she was different now. She wasn't crying anymore. In fact, there was a determination in her eyes that wasn't there before. She plugged the charger into her phone and started typing intensely. "Excuse me," she said to me. "Do you have kids?" "I do, ma'am. 2. A daughter who's 15 and a son who's 12. How long have you been married?" "My wife and I? 18 years. And do you get along?" Man, the question was strange, but her tone was so vulnerable, so lost, that I decided to answer with kindness. "We get along just fine, ma'am. Of course we have arguments, right? But it's a partnership. Why do you ask?" She was silent for a few seconds, still on her phone. "Because I've been married for 16 years, and I never suspected a thing. Never. He'd come home late, said it was work. He traveled a lot, said it was for meetings, and I believed him. I always believed him." Her voice was controlled, but you could feel the hurt. "And Chelsea, the one who called you? My best friend for 20 years, the maid of honor at my wedding, the person I trusted most in the world besides my husband." She let out a bitter laugh. Imagine the irony. Right then, her phone rang again. She looked at it and declined the call. "Robert," she said to me, "I bet Chelsea already told him everything." The phone rang 2 more times. She declined both. "Ma'am, can I ask you something? Are you really still going to this party after finding all this out?" She looked at me in the rearview mirror with a smile that gave me the chills. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who was plotting something. "Yes, I am. In fact, now I have even more reason to go." Then she started to tell me. The party was for her cousin's birthday, Helen. That was the passenger's name, by the way. The whole family would be there, including her and Robert's parents, friends they had known forever. "You know what's worse?" she continued. "I'm sure some people already knew. 2 years, man. 2 years. Someone must have seen them together, must have said something, and I, the idiot, was always the last to know." The phone rang again. Robert was being persistent. "Answer it," I said. "See what he has to say." She looked at me, surprised. "Why?" "Because you need to know his side of the story to prepare yourself." Man, you have no idea how invested I was in this story. It was stronger than me. Maybe because I have a wife and kids. Maybe because I've seen a lot of bad things happen to good people. But I was genuinely worried about her and angry at this Robert guy. She answered, "Hi, Robert." On the other end of the line, you could hear his voice sounding a little frantic. He was talking fast, trying to explain something. "Robert, stop." Helen interrupted with an impressive coldness. "Chelsea already told me everything." Silence on the other end. 2 years, Robert. She told me about the 2 years. Then he started with that classic crying fit of a man who's been caught red-handed. "It's not what you think. It was only a few times. I love you. Let's talk in person." Helen was listening to all of it with a disgusted look on her face that made me feel for her. "Robert, where are you right now?" she asked. "At home, waiting for you to come back so we can talk." "At home?" She looked at me in the rearview mirror with a face that said, "This guy really thinks I'm an idiot." "Are you sure?" An awkward silence on the other end. "Because Chelsea told me you two were at our cabin by the lake when she called me." Man, the silence that followed was tense, very tense. "Helen, let me explain. Explain it to Chelsea, Robert. Bye." And she hung up. Then she looked at me and said, "You know what I'm going to do?" "What, ma'am?" "I'm going to the party. I'm going to greet everyone. I'm going to smile. I'm going to be the same Helen I always am. And at the end of the night, when it's time to sing happy birthday, when everyone is gathered, that's when I'm going to tell everyone what I found out today." Man, when she said that, a shiver went down my spine. It wasn't just anger. It was a plan. She was cooking up a plan for revenge. Are you sure about this? Isn't it better to sort this out at home in private? Private? She gave that bitter laugh again. They made a fool of me in front of everyone for 2 years. Now it's their turn to be humiliated, and that's when she really started to involve me in the story. Can you help me with something? Depends on what it is, ma'am. I need evidence. I have to go to the lake cabin to get some things before the party. Man, when she said that, I should have said no. I should have taken her straight to the party and that was it. But you have to understand. This woman was destroyed, humiliated, betrayed by the 2 people she trusted most in the world. And there was something about her, a wounded dignity, that got to me. What kind of evidence, ma'am? His clothes, her perfume? I don't know. Something that proves they were there. The lake cabin was in a nearby town, not too far from where we were. We would have time to go there and then head to the Seaport District. Okay, I said, but we have to be quick. And that's how I became an accomplice in the biggest revenge I've ever witnessed. What we found in that cabin was much worse than she imagined. Man, when we got to the cabin, Helen got out of the car with a determination that was impressive. She didn't look like that destroyed woman who got in my Uber. Now she was focused, with a clear objective. Stay here in the car, she said. If anything weird happens, call me. She gave me her number and went up. I waited there, a little nervous, wondering if I was making a mistake. After all, she was technically breaking into an apartment that was her own, but still, the situation was weird. About 15 minutes later, she came down with an expression I'll never forget. It was a mix of disgust, anger, and satisfaction, as if she had found exactly what she was looking for. Did you get what you needed? I asked when she got in the car. I got a lot more than I expected, she replied, rummaging through a bag she had brought. Can I ask what? She sighed deeply. Her underwear in my bedroom. The shirt I gave him for Christmas last year thrown on the floor. Used condoms in the bathroom trash can. She paused. And a Polaroid photo of the 2 of them in my bed. Man, when she mentioned the photo, I felt a pang in my chest. What kind of person does that? Takes a picture in their cheated-on spouse's bed? What a pair of dirtbags, I blurted out before I could control myself. Sorry, ma'am. I got carried away. You don't have to apologize. That's exactly what they are. Her voice was controlled, but you could feel the venom. So now what? Are we going to the party? We are. But first I need to do one more thing. She took out her phone and started calling someone. Chelsea, it's me again. On the other end of the line, Chelsea answered a little hesitantly. Helen, I can explain everything. Chelsea, listen, I'm not angry. A bold-faced lie, right? But she said it with an impressive calm. You're not. Chelsea's voice sounded hopeful. No. In fact, I understand you two. These things happen, right? Passion can't be controlled. Man, she was an incredible actress. If I hadn't seen her state an hour ago, I would have believed she was genuinely okay with it. Helen, you have no idea how bad I feel. I can imagine it must be horrible to keep that secret for so long. But now that it's all out in the open, we can talk about it like adults. You want to talk? Of course. In fact, are you coming to my cousin's party tonight? Silence on the other end. Helen, I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? We need to sort this out. And it would be good for you to be there when I talk to Robert too, so we can figure out what to do from here. Man, her acting was perfect. She was convincing her husband's mistress to show up to the party where she was going to publicly expose them both. It was genius and terrifying at the same time. Are you sure? Chelsea was still hesitant. Absolutely. In fact, bring Robert with you. I already talked to him and told you guys to show up around 10 o'clock. We can talk calmly. Another lie. She hadn't said any of this to Robert. Okay, if you're sure, I am. See you later. And she hung up. Then she looked at me with that icy smile again. Perfect. Now they'll both be there when I make my little scene. Ma'am, can I say something? Sure. Are you sure you want to do this? There's no coming back from something like this. Once you expose them like that in public, there's no way to pretend nothing happened. She was silent for a few seconds, looking out the window. You're right, there's no coming back. But you know what? I don't want to come back. I want everyone to know what kind of person I married. I want his family to know. I want their friends to know. I want everyone who laughed at me behind my back for the last 2 years to know that I found out everything. Her voice was firm, determined. Besides, she continued, there's something I haven't told you yet. What? When I was at the cabin, I found more than just proof of the affair. What do you mean? She opened her purse and showed me some papers. I found bank statements. Robert has been moving money from our joint account for months, transferring it to an account I don't know about. Man, things were getting worse and worse for Robert. How much money? A lot. A whole lot. He's setting me up to be left with nothing when he asks for a divorce. Now I understood why she was so determined. It wasn't just cheating. It was cheating with theft. The guy was planning to leave her with nothing. That's why I'm going to cause a scene tonight, because if I don't act now, in a few months, he'll show up with the divorce papers. I'll be the one who was abandoned. and I'll lose everything we built together. Her logic was perfect. Cruel, but perfect. And there's one more thing, she said, looking at her phone. I found out that the account he's transferring the money to belongs to Chelsea. Total silence in the car. In other words, they were both plotting this for a long time. It wasn't just a one-time thing that happened, it was planned. They wanted to leave me with nothing. Man, at that moment I felt a rage towards those two that you can't imagine. How could two people do something so evil to someone, and with such coldness? Now, do you understand why I'm going to do what I'm going to do? She asked. I understand perfectly, ma'am. And if you need a witness for anything, you can count on me. She smiled. For the first time since she got in my car, it was a genuine smile. Thank you. Really. You have no idea how much you're helping me just by being here, listening. And that's when we arrived at the party address. An apartment in the Seaport district, one of those with a doorman and everything. Helen got out of the car, but before she closed the door, she said, if you want, you can stick around. In about 2 hours, I'm going to need a ride back. And I promise it'll be an interesting ride. How was I going to miss the end of this story? I'll stay, ma'am. Good luck in there. Thanks. But I won't need luck. I have evidence. And she went into the building. 2 hours later, when she came out, a lot of people's lives had been changed forever. I stayed there parked in front of the building, thinking about the craziness I was witnessing. Helen had gone up to the party with that bag full of evidence, determined to blow up her husband's and ex-best friend's lives, in front of everyone. And I was there, waiting as if I were going to watch the end of a TV show. About 40 minutes later, my phone rang. It was her. Hey, are you still downstairs? Her voice was more relaxed. I am, ma'am. How's it going? So far, so good. I got here, greeted everyone, got a bunch of kisses. The whole family is here. His parents, mine, cousins, friends. The party's packed. And Robert and Chelsea? They haven't arrived yet, but they're on their way. Chelsea just texted me, saying they're in transit. She paused. Listen, can you come up here? What do you mean, come up? Come up to the apartment. Say you're my personal driver and you have to wait. The people here are nice. No one will mind. Man, I felt a little awkward. It's not very common for a rideshare driver to go up to a party, you know? I don't know, ma'am. Please, I know it's weird, but I need someone I know close by. When the time comes for the confrontation, I'm going to need an impartial witness. The way she said it got to me. You could tell that as determined as she was also scared. What she was doing took a lot of guts. Okay, I'll come up. The apartment was beautiful, man. One of those professionally decorated ones with a view of the harbor and everything. When I got there, Helen introduced me to some relatives as my personal driver. Everyone was super polite. They offered me a drink, some food. Helen was impressive, smiling, talking, greeting everyone as if nothing was happening. If I didn't know what she had found out a few hours ago, I would never have guessed what she was plotting. This is my cousin Letitia, the birthday girl. She introduced me to a friendly woman in her 50s. Nice to meet you. Helen always talks about you. She lied politely. Please. The pleasure's all mine. Then Helen pulled me aside. I'm going to show you something, she whispered, leading me to the balcony. She opened her phone and showed me a WhatsApp conversation. Look at the messages Robert is sending me. I read them quickly. Honey, I'm sorry about the misunderstanding today. Let's talk when you get back. I love you. It was a misunderstanding. A 2-year misunderstanding, she commented with irony. And Chelsea? Look at this one. Another conversation. Chelsea was texting. Thanks for being so understanding. You're an amazing friend. I promise we'll sort this out in the best way. They really think you bought the story, I commented. That's exactly what I want them to think until they get here. We went back to the main living room. There were about 30 people, a very family-like atmosphere, ambient music, a nice buffet, people talking in small groups. Then Helen introduced me to more people, her parents, some aunts and uncles, some longtime friends, all nice, polite people, the kind of crowd that would be shocked when she dropped the bomb. These are Robert's parents. She showed me an elegant couple who were talking near the window, married for 40 years, very religious, conservative. Imagine when they find out what their son did. Man, you could see she had planned everything down to the smallest detail. She had chosen the right audience, the right moment. And that's Sylvia, my sister-in-law, Robert's sister. She always thought she was superior to me, always treated me a little badly because I don't have kids. She pointed discreetly to a thin, well-dressed woman. It's going to be a special pleasure to see the look on her face when she finds out her darling brother is a jerk. You know when a hurt person becomes dangerous? That's exactly what was happening. Helen wasn't just trying to expose the affair. She wanted to humiliate them. She wanted everyone who had ever judged or belittled her to see that she wasn't the fool they thought she was. Just then, my phone vibrated. A message from her. They just got to the building. I felt my stomach churn. The moment of truth had arrived. I'm going to go greet them. she said to me, still whispering. Keep an eye on people's reactions when they walk in. I bet some people will be embarrassed. And she went to the door. 5 minutes later, Robert and Chelsea walked into the apartment. Man, if you could have seen the scene. Robert was a handsome man, well-dressed, the kind who exudes confidence. He must have been about 45, with salt and pepper hair at his temples, a smile that seemed sincere, the kind of guy any mother-in-law would approve of. Chelsea was younger, in her late 30s, a brunette, beautiful, well-dressed too, the kind of woman who turns heads wherever she goes. When they walked in, exactly what Helen had predicted happened. Some people looked a little awkward. They looked at each other with that "what an embarrassing situation" look. It was obvious that at least some of the people there already knew about the affair. Helen went to greet the two of them with the utmost ease. "Hi, honey," she kissed Robert on the cheek. "Hi, Chelsea, so glad you came." She hugged her ex-best friend. Man, her acting was perfect. Anyone who didn't know the truth would have thought everything was normal. Robert was visibly nervous. He kept fidgeting with his drink, looking at the floor, clearly uncomfortable. Chelsea was trying to look natural, but you could tell she was tense. "Honey, can we talk?" Robert pulled Helen to the side. "Of course, but later. Now it's Letitia's party. Let's have fun." Her coldness was impressive. Robert was clearly frustrated, but he couldn't insist without drawing attention. Over the next hour, Helen circulated through the party like a perfect hostess. She talked to everyone, made a point of greeting every person there, and the most genius part, she was planting seeds. "Aunt Martha, you know Chelsea, right? My best friend, or rather, used to be my best friend," she said to an elderly woman with an enigmatic smile. "What do you mean, honey?" "Oh, I'll tell you later. It's an interesting story." And she'd walk away, leaving the person curious. With another group, "Guys, you won't believe what I found out today, but I'll tell you in a little while, when everyone is gathered." She was building anticipation, setting the stage. When it came time for the revelation, everyone would already be paying attention. Robert tried to get close to her 2 more times, but she always made an excuse. "Not now, honey. We'll talk later." Chelsea was getting more and more nervous. At one point in the party, she tried to make small talk with me. "Are you Helen's driver?" she asked. "I am." Did she say anything to you about the conversation we had today?" I looked at Helen, who was watching everything from the other side of the room. She gave me a discreet nod. "She said you guys are great friends," I replied. "That you've known each other for a long time." Chelsea gave a forced smile. "Yes, we are, you filthy liar." Around 10:30 at night, Letitia, the birthday girl, tapped her glass to get everyone's attention. "Everyone, let's sing happy birthday." Everyone gathered in the main living room. Helen made a point of standing right in the center, next to the cake table. They sang happy birthday. Letitia blew out the candles. Everyone applauded. And then Helen asked to speak. "Guys, since we're all here, I wanted to take the opportunity to make an announcement too." The silence was total. Robert went white. Chelsea too. "Today was a very special day for me. A day of important discoveries." She opened her purse and took out the bag she had brought from the lake cabin. "I found out some things about people I thought I knew very well." Her voice was firm, but you could feel the controlled emotion underneath. Robert tried to interrupt. "Helen, let's talk at home." "No, Robert. Now it's here, in front of everyone." And then the show began. "Guys, you need to understand something. When a humiliated and intelligent person decides to get revenge, the result is devastating. And Helen was very intelligent. "I want all of you to meet the real Robert," she began, looking directly at his parents, "and the real Chelsea." And she took the first piece of evidence out of the bag, the Polaroid photo of the two of them in her bed. The silence that fell over the room was deafening. Man, when Helen showed that photo, the silence in the room was chilling. Everyone was just standing there, processing what they were seeing. The photo was very clear. Robert and Chelsea in Helen's own bed in a very intimate position, smiling at the camera as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Helen, stop this!" Robert yelled, trying to grab the photo from her hand. But she was faster and held the photo up high for everyone to see. "Why stop, Robert? You didn't care about taking this photo in my bed, in my cabin, spending my money." Robert's mother put her hand to her chest, as if she were about to have a heart attack. His father turned, red with embarrassment and rage. "My son," his mother whispered. 2 years, Helen continued, her voice now louder. 2 years they made a fool out of me. While I believed my husband was working late, he was with my best friend. Chelsea tried to defend herself. "Helen, let me explain." "Explain what, Chelsea?" "This." Helen showed another photo. "Or this." She pulled out the underwear she had found in the bedroom. Man, the embarrassment in the room was unbearable. People didn't know where to look. Some tried to leave discreetly, but Helen said, "No one is leaving. You're all going to hear everything. Because for 2 years you saw me face to face, smiled at me, and some of you already knew about this. She was right. You could see on the faces of some people that they knew and never said anything. Aunt Sonia, she pointed to a woman who was trying to hide behind the couch. You knew, didn't you? That's why you always looked at me with pity at family gatherings. The woman couldn't deny it. She just lowered her head, confirming it. And you, Sylvia, she looked at her sister-in-law. You always knew your brother was a scumbag, and you never told me. Sylvia tried to protest. Helen, I never... Liar, Helen yelled. You did. That's why you always treated me badly, always looked at me like I was an idiot because you knew I was being made a fool of. Man, it was a massacre. Helen was destroying everyone who knew and never said anything. Robert tried one more time. Helen, for God's sake. For God's sake what, Robert? You want me to feel sorry for you now? After finding this out, she took the bank statements out of her purse. Did you know that besides cheating on me, they were robbing me? Robert transferred more than $200,000 from our joint account to Chelsea's account in the last 6 months. Now even the people who were just embarrassed became outraged. Cheating is bad, but cheating with theft is even worse. Robert's father stood up. What's this about, Robert? Dad, I can explain. Explain what? The old man yelled. You cheated on your wife with her best friend, and on top of that you stole money? His mother started crying. My God, what a disgrace. Chelsea tried to defend herself. Guys, you don't understand. Understand what, Chelsea? Helen cut her off. That you spent 2 years sleeping with your best friend's husband? That you used my cabin? That you received money that was mine? Then Helen dropped the final bomb. And there's one more thing you don't know. She took out her phone and started tapping. I recorded tonight's call when Chelsea confessed everything to me, and she started playing the audio of the call. Chelsea's voice came out of the phone, confessing to the affair, begging for forgiveness, talking about the 2 years of cheating. Man, it was devastating. To hear the full confession, with details, in front of everyone, Chelsea went white as a sheet. Turn it off, she begged. Why turn it off? It's your voice, Chelsea. Those are your words. The audio continued. Chelsea saying they'd meet at the lake cabin, that Robert said he didn't love Helen anymore, that they were planning to be together. When the audio ended, the silence was total. You could only hear some sobs from Robert's mother. Then Helen looked at everyone and said, Now you know what kind of people they are. You know why I decided to do this here, in front of all of you. Robert tried one last time. Helen, you're doing this because you're hurt, but hurt, she exploded. I'm hurt? Robert, you destroyed 16 years of marriage. You made a fool of me in front of everyone. You stole my money, and you still have the nerve to say I'm hurt? Her voice was trembling with rage now. You know what's most pathetic? It's that you two really thought I was stupid enough to buy that it was only a few times, and we can fix this story. She looked at Chelsea. And you, who had the guts to look me in the face every day, to come to my house to be my maid of honor. You are the most disgusting person I've ever met in my life. Chelsea was crying now. Helen, please forgive me. Forgive? Forgive? Helen laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. Chelsea, you ruined my life. You destroyed my trust in everyone. And you still want forgiveness? Then she turned to everyone. I want you to know that these two spent 2 years making a fool of me, and some of you knew and never told me. So now you know how I feel. Humiliated, betrayed, robbed. She took a deep breath. But you know what? I'm going to be okay, because now I know who the real people in my life are. And you two, she pointed at Robert and Chelsea, are not. Robert tried to get close to her one more time. Helen, don't touch me, she yelled. Don't ever touch me again. And then she looked at me. Let's go. I have nothing left to do here. Man, when we left that apartment, I was still processing everything I had witnessed. Helen had completely destroyed Robert and Chelsea's reputations in front of their entire family and friends. There was no going back for them, ever, but the story wasn't over yet. When we got to the car, Helen made a call that changed everything again. Hello, Dr. Miller. It's Helen. Sorry to call so late, but I need to talk to you first thing in the morning. It's about the divorce. Her revenge was just beginning. The next morning, I woke up still thinking about everything I had witnessed the night before. Man, I had been part of the biggest revenge I'd ever seen in my life, and I couldn't get it out of my head. Helen had destroyed Robert and Chelsea in front of everyone, but something told me she wasn't done yet. Around 10 in the morning, my phone rang. It was her. Good morning, can you pick me up? I have a few places to go today. Of course, ma'am. Where are you? At my sister's place. I stayed here last night. I didn't want to go back home. I got the address and went to pick her up. When she got in the car, she was completely different from the destroyed woman I had met the day before. Now she seemed powerful, determined, like someone who knew exactly what they were doing. How was the night? I asked. Couldn't have been better. I slept like a baby for the first time in months. She had a folder full of documents in her lap. I already went to the lawyers. We filed for a contested divorce an hour ago. And how does that work? Well, Considering I have proof of the affair, the financial misconduct, and several witnesses to what happened last night, let's just say I'm going to get most of the assets. The satisfaction in her voice was clear. And there's something I found out this morning that you won't believe. What? She took out her phone and showed me a WhatsApp conversation. Chelsea texted me this morning. I read the message. Helen, I need to talk to you. It's urgent. It's about something you need to know about Robert. She wants to talk about Robert? After last night? Exactly. I called her and brace yourself as she's pregnant. Man, I almost crashed the car when she said that. Pregnant? 3 months. Roberts. Things were getting crazier and crazier. And she wants to talk to me because she found out she's not the only one. What do you mean? Robert has a third woman, his office assistant. And from what Chelsea found out, the relationship with the assistant started before the affair with her. Guys, can you believe that? The guy had 2 mistresses at the same time besides his wife. Chelsea only found out last night after we left the party. She went to find Robert to talk and caught him on the phone with the other woman. Helen laughed, but it was the laugh of someone who was seeing justice being served. Now she wants to team up with me against him. She's offering to help with more evidence. And you're going to accept? Of course I am. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? We got to a cafe where Helen had arranged to meet with Chelsea. She got out of the car, but first she asked me, "Stay nearby, I'll call you if I need you." An hour later, she came back with an expression of someone who had just won the lottery. "I got information that will end Robert's life," she said, getting in the car. "What kind of information?" Chelsea gave me access to the conversations she had with him. There are messages of him talking badly about me, my family, saying he was only with me for my money. She showed me her phone with screenshots of the conversations. Look at this one. Helen is such an idiot, she never suspects a thing. Once I manage to transfer all the money, we'll move abroad. Man, what a son of a gun. The guy was really planning to steal everything and disappear. And there's more. He wasn't just siphoning money to Chelsea's account. There's an offshore account too. How did she find that out? Because he asked her to help him transfer some of the money. She has the receipts for everything. Helen was building a case so solid against Robert that he would have no way to defend himself. Now let's go to his office. I want to give him a little surprise. When we got to Robert's office, Helen got out with that folder of documents and an impressive determination. "You can come up with me this time," she said. "I want you to see this." We went up to the 12th floor. The office was fancy, one of those with a marble reception area and a pretty assistant. By the way, when I saw the assistant, I understood why Robert had been interested. Brunette, young, well-dressed. "Good morning. I'm here to see Robert," Helen said to the receptionist. "Do you have an appointment?" "I don't need one. I'm his wife. He'll want to see me." The girl looked awkward, but she called Robert. "Mr. Miller, your wife is here." "Yes, she insists." "Okay, you can go in, ma'am." We went into Robert's office. He was behind his desk, looking like he hadn't slept. When he saw us, he turned even paler. "Helen, what do you want here?" "I came to give you something." She threw a copy of the divorce papers on his desk. Robert opened the documents and got paler and paler as he read. "You can't ask for all this." "Yes, I can. I have proof of everything, Robert. The affair, the financial misconduct, the offshore accounts." When she mentioned the offshore accounts, he almost fell out of his chair. "How did you find out about the accounts?" "Chelsea told me everything, including that you have a third woman." She pointed to the door. "The assistant out there, right?" Robert couldn't deny it. His guilty face gave it all away. "Robert, did you really think you were going to be able to rob me and disappear with these two?" Helen laughed. "You underestimated me way too much." Then she leaned over the desk. "You know what's going to happen now? You're going to lose everything. The house, the lake cabin, the cars, the accounts, and you're still going to have to pay child support for 2 pregnant women." "2?" he asked, confused. "Oh, you didn't know the assistant is also pregnant?" "Well, Chelsea found out this morning and told me." Man, the look on Robert's face was priceless. The man had managed to get both of his mistresses pregnant at the same time. "Now you're going to have to support 3 families with whatever money is left after I take my share. Good luck." Helen got up to leave, but before she did, she turned around one more time. "Oh, and Robert, last night, I didn't just show the photos to the family. I posted everything on social media too. Everyone we know already knows what kind of man you are." And she left, leaving me there with a destroyed Robert. When I got to the car, Helen was on the phone with someone. "Yes, Dr. Miller, he already received the papers. Just as I thought, he's going to try to contest it." "No, that's fine. I have plenty of evidence." She hung up with a surprised look on her face. "What's wrong?" "Robert just showed up at my lawyer's office. He wants to make a deal." When we got to the office, Robert was there, accompanied by his lawyer. Man, the man was unrecognizable, thin, dejected, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "Helen," he tried to say when she walked in. Don't call me by that name, you lost that right? Robert's lawyer tried to mediate. Let's try to solve this in a civilized way. Civilized? Helen laughed. Your client spent 2 years cheating on me, he stole my money, and he still tried to blackmail me, and you want civility? Robert finally spoke. Helen, I know I made a mistake, a big one, but it doesn't have to be like this. We can make a deal that's good for both of us. What kind of deal? You get the house and I get the lake cabin. We'll split the rest 50-50. Helen looked at him as if he were crazy. Robert, you really think that after everything you've done, you can still negotiate with me? She turned to his lawyer. Counselor, explain to your client that he has no bargaining power whatsoever. He's going to lose everything in this case, everything. But Helen, Robert tried one more time. The only thing I'll accept, she interrupted him, is for you to sign over all the assets to me and disappear from my life. And even then, you're still going to face the consequences for the crimes you committed. Robert tried to protest, but his own lawyer said, Robert, she's right. With all the evidence she has, you can't win this case. And that's how, 2 weeks later, Helen got everything she wanted. But the end of the story was even more surprising than everything that had happened before. 2 weeks after that meeting at the lawyer's office, Helen called me with the most upbeat voice I had ever heard from her. Can you pick me up? I have some news to tell you. And this time it's good news for me. When I got there to pick her up, Helen was radiant. She was in a new dress, her hair was done, her makeup was flawless. She looked like a completely different person from that destroyed woman who got in my car on that Thursday night. So, what's the news? I asked as soon as she got in the car. Robert signed everything yesterday. He transferred all the assets to me. The house, the lake cabin, the cars, the accounts, everything. The satisfaction in her voice was total. And there's more. The IRS opened an investigation against him. According to my accountant's calculations, he owes more than $500,000 in back taxes. Man, Robert had screwed himself in every possible way. What about the 2 pregnant women? Helen laughed. Oh, that's the best part of the story. Chelsea and the assistant have teamed up against him. They filed a lawsuit asking for child support, and since he doesn't have any assets left, he's going to have to pay it from his salary. And he still has a job, for now, but it won't last long. The scandal reached the partners at the firm. They're not happy about the repercussions at all, really, after everything that had happened. With the photos circulating, the divorce case, the crimes. His career was over. Where are we going? I asked. To the lake cabin. Now that it's officially mine, I want to take a look at what needs to be changed. On the way there, Helen told me more details about how things had unfolded. You know what happened to Robert after he signed the papers? He tried to go to his parents' house, and then his parents shut the door in his face. After the shame he brought on the whole family, they don't even want to see him. Helen looked at her phone and showed me a photo. Look where he's living now. It was a photo of Robert leaving a very simple building, very different from the fancy places he used to live. How did you get this photo? Chelsea sent it. She's been following him to make sure he's not hiding money. We got to the lake cabin. When we walked in, Helen walked through the rooms with a satisfied smile. You know what the first thing I did when I found out the cabin was officially mine was? What? I burned the sheets from the bed where they used to meet. I bought everything new. Furniture, decor, everything. I want to erase any trace of those 2 from here. She opened the windows, letting the fresh air from the lake into the cabin. And you know what the most ironic thing about all this is? Tell me. Chelsea came to see me yesterday. She wants to be my friend again. I almost choked when she said that. What do you mean? She said she was manipulated by Robert, that he lied to her by saying our marriage was already over, that she's sorry. Helen laughed, shaking her head. I told her, Chelsea, you can try to convince yourself of that, but I know the truth. You knew you were ruining my life and you didn't care. And what did she say? She started crying, begging for forgiveness, saying she was pregnant and alone. Helen sat down on the new couch she had bought. I felt sorry for her for 2 seconds, but then I remembered the photo of them in my bed, the 2 years of lies, the money they stole, and the pity disappeared. Just then her phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello? On the other end of the line, you could hear Robert's voice. Helen, please, give me a chance to talk to you. Robert, I already told you I don't want to talk to you. For God's sake, Helen, I lost everything. I have nothing left. I have nowhere to live. I owe a fortune to the IRS. I'm going to have to pay child support for 2 kids. His voice was desperate, almost crying. And you think I should feel sorry for you? Helen asked coldly. You don't understand. I'm on the streets, Helen. Literally on the streets. Robert, you made all these decisions yourself. You decided to cheat on me. You decided to steal my money. You decided to try and blackmail me. Now you have to face the consequences. But Helen, Robert, listen to me closely because this is the last time I'm going to talk to you. You destroyed my life for 2 years. You humiliated me. You stole from me. You lied to me. Now you're paying for it. And you know what? I don't feel a single ounce of pity for you." And she hung up. She looked at me. "You know what's most liberating about all this?" "What?" "It's that for the first time in 2 years I sleep peacefully. I don't stay up at night wondering why my husband comes home late. I don't have to pretend I believe his lies anymore. I don't have to smile at Chelsea pretending we're friends." Helen got up and went to the window, looking at the lake. "I found out something very important in this whole story." "What was it?" "That I'm much stronger than I imagined. That I don't need anyone in my life who doesn't respect me. And that sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is to find out the truth even if it hurts." Just then, she got a text message. It was from her sister. "My sister sent me a photo." She showed me her phone. "Robert was fired today. The partners at the firm couldn't handle the scandal anymore." The photo showed Robert leaving the office building with a cardboard box in his hands. There. Now he has literally lost everything. His job, his family, his house, his money, his reputation, everything. Helen put her phone away and looked at me seriously. "You know what? I didn't plan for things to get this far. That night, when I found out everything, I just wanted him to be embarrassed in front of his family. But things just kept unfolding. Exactly. Every lie. I uncovered every bad thing he had done, and it just made me more determined to make him pay for everything." She took a deep breath. "And now that it's all over, you know what I feel?" "What?" "Relief. A lot of relief. And gratitude. Gratitude for you, for helping me that night, for staying by my side when I needed support the most, for not judging me when I decided to get revenge." Man, when she said that, I got emotional. Throughout all that craziness, I asked myself several times if I was doing the right thing by supporting her revenge. But seeing the final result, seeing her strong, independent, free from those toxic people. "So now what? What are the plans?" I asked. "Now I'm going to rebuild my life, from scratch, only with people who truly respect me." Helen smiled. "And I'm going to start a consulting business. I always wanted to work for myself, but Robert always discouraged me. Now I can do whatever I want." "What about relationships? Are you going to try again?" She laughed. "One day maybe, but not now. Now I want to get to know myself better, to find out who Helen is without Robert, without Chelsea, without those people who manipulated me." We were silent for a few minutes, looking at the lake out the window. "You know what the best part of all this is?" she asked. "What?" "It's that I know those two are suffering the consequences of their choices. Robert is broke, unemployed, despised by his family. Chelsea is pregnant, alone, being judged by everyone. Who knows the story?" She turned to me. "And me? I'm free, financially independent, and surrounded by people who truly care about me." Just then, she got more texts on her phone. They were from a lot of people congratulating her for her courage. After the story got out, a lot of people reached out to me to say they always suspected Robert, that they never liked Chelsea. Helen shook her head. "It's funny how people show up after everything is over, right? But there are people who supported you from the beginning," I commented. "True. And those are the people who will stay in my life." When we got back to the city, Helen made me a proposal. "Would you be my personal driver? I'm going to need someone I can trust now that I'm starting my business." Man, after everything we had been through together, how could I say no? "I accept, ma'am." "Helen. You can call me Helen." And that's how the craziest story I've ever witnessed in my life as a driver ended. Helen got her complete revenge. Robert lost everything and she got everything. But the most important thing is that she discovered her own strength and freed herself from a toxic marriage. Today, 6 months later, I can say that it was the best decision she ever made. Her company is thriving, she's happy, independent, and surrounded by people who really care about her. Robert is paying child support for 2 kids with the salary from a job he got at a small company. He lives in a rented apartment and, according to the rumors that reach us, he's still trying to sort things out with the IRS. Chelsea disappeared. She moved to another city after the baby was born. And me? I learned that sometimes life puts you in the right place, at the right time, to help someone who really needs it. That Uber ride wasn't just a ride. It was the beginning of a great friendship and my participation in the greatest lesson in justice I've ever seen. Because at the end of the day, guys, the truth always comes out. And when it does, everyone reaps what they sow. And Helen sowed dignity, courage, and determination. That's why she reaped victory, freedom, and peace. Did you like the story? Do you believe justice exists in the world? Leave a comment with what you think you would have done in Helen's place. And if you know a similar story, share it with me. Until next time.